Check.
Check. Remember, there's a delay.
Check.
Check. Are we on?
We are.
We are. Okay, good. We made it.
This time for sure.
Yeah, this time for sure. A couple minutes late. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened to yesterday. This is Jimmy Doane Show, by the way. Jimmy Doane Show today is the 14th
Yeah.
of September 2016, and here with Counselor Curtis
That's me.
and Jimmy Doane. That's me. And you're looking spiffy today.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, dressed up like an attorney and
It's
everything.
hard to believe.
Hard to believe. So we don't know what happened yesterday, do we?
We got censored by the, we're obviously too influential at this point with our one listener, whoever we got through to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I mean, I didn't think, sometimes it takes a little while to render this stuff,
Yeah.
I guess, but still, it was,
I don't know. We'll check and see, but I've got it recorded, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I recorded
hope.
at the same time, yeah, unless that button didn't work also, so we'll see, but
this is what we get for not having engineer Eric.
yeah, exactly. We're around, this is stone knives and bear skins here.
That's right. It's great. Anyway, it's kind of a newsy day today. We don't have too much to say about the election, I don't think, unless you have something particular.
No.
No updates on Hillary.
Yeah, no, nothing yet.
Nothing yet. We're waiting around with, we're waiting right there outside the hospital room to see her. No, I guess she's back at Chappaquiddick.
Okay.
Chippequiddick. No, Chappaquiddick was. Oh, that was that was Kennedy's. That was Kennedy's bridge. Chappaquiddick was
Right, yeah.
was the Mary Jo Kopechne thing,
Right.
where he killed her. Okay, good. At least the Clintons are a little more subtle about it. You know, the death toll.
Well, it was an accident. I mean, I get back to this all the time. A DUI is just not a crime because there's no criminal intent. You know, there's no way that he tried to kill her on the bridge. It was an accident. He wrecked the car. So, I mean, the chances of him dying were at least as good as the chances of her dying. So, yeah, it's an accident. I mean, now it sucks that we all go to prison for that, and he doesn't. I mean, that's the crap.
Oh, not only that, he became the lion of the Senate.
Right.
He was revered.
Right. Well, I think to me that's not a disqualifier that you're in a DUI with it. What?
No, I know, but it's still, it doesn't look real good.
Well, to me, it's the double standard. We're all used to people going to jail if there's an accident and you're in the car,
Right.
And that didn't happen for him because why? Because they all looked around and realized, you know what, he's not such a bad guy. He's all right. He's fine, and let him go. And it was an accident, and that's what they should do on every DUI, as far as I'm concerned. It's
I
just
still think I wouldn't have had him elected to anything after that. That's for sure.
it's an accident again, an accident. You know.
All right, moving on. Let's get one other. I got one other little update that I want to bring on.
Okay.
This has to do with the just recently, apparently 4 years after the deadly Benghazi terrorist attack, Hillary Clinton is running for president, and Nakula Bosley Nakula is broke, destitute, and living in a homeless shelter.
Oh, the guy who did the film.
He's the guy who did the video. And I mean, can you imagine this?
Yeah.
He's not dead.
Right,
But
yet.
the carnage.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
They destroyed his life.
they destroyed him.
Yeah.
I mean, he has nothing. She is, she's, worth 100, 200, 300 million dollars or whatever.
Right.
And he's living under a bridge or something like that in a box or homeless
Right.
shelter.
Right.
I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, and she knew it.
Yeah, they
That's
knew.
one of the things. She knew it.
Yeah.
She was absolutely sure. Everybody knew it. And for at least a week.
Yeah.
At least a week afterwards. And I think it was...
And they sent Susan Rice out there.
Did they?
As the sacrificial lamb to say it on TV. Yes, it was the video. For days after they knew it.
Well, it was at least a week.
Yeah.
And here's this guy today, and here this is showing when they arrested him. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was kind of interesting that, and they had three of these real heavy-set guys out there, and he's just a little nobodiesville.
Right.
I mean, he's a little guy. But I mean, I just sit there. This is the,
Well,
where's the justice?
Right. Well, look, they're used to this kind of thing. You think about Monica Lewinsky. If I were her, when Bill started wagging his finger at the screen saying I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky, I'd have lost my mind at that point because I would have been sure that they were going to kill me any moment. I mean, at that point, I would have been like, oh my God, they're going to kill me. Like right now, the door is about to open. I'm about to get shot by a Secret Service guy with a silencer right now because she was the linchpin. And if she hadn't brought up the dress, he would no problem. No problem.
That is something else that she had, the little souvenir.
Yeah. Yeah, and you think about Bill had no problem chucking her under the bus.
Oh, no problem.
Grinding up into the gears. Here you go. One little intern. What's the problem? One little intern. And So the fact that they have no problem having this guy be destitute, his whole life
apparently okay now. I mean, I think she has a job and everything.
Oh, Monica? Yeah. Well, that's because she was exonerated.
Yeah.
And although this guy he's a filmmaker or whatever. I mean, he wasn't like a little White House intern. Obviously, she had connections.
Well, anyway, it's funny. A short video called "The Innocence of Muslims" was initially faulted for sparking the September 11th, 2012. So anyway, he's living in a homeless shelter. He served time in prison. Of course, they hauled him in for this, I guess, for starting the riot in Libya. Mm-hmm. I think that's why I was in jail.
Yeah.
And I just and of course he said what he says is, I don't believe in democracy anymore. Well, of course, democracy is really mob rule. But anyway, he told Fox News, I don't think there's such a thing as freedom of speech. Well,
go ahead.
Finally, he came around and realized that this, for him, he's one of the mundanes or something.
Yeah, he's one of the throwaway guys.
Yeah, throwaway. That's for sure.
But he could write a nice book about it. I mean, if I were him, I would have a nice big book about how I was public enemy number one. And of course, there's probably some prohibition against him receiving funds. I don't know if they ever actually unconvicted him, from a legal perspective or not.
Ooh, that'd be something we could do a little research on.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting to find out if he was exonerated for doing nothing.
Right. Or if they let it stand. Just let it stand.
Yeah, let it stand. He's a criminal record. Every time he gets stopped now at the airport.
Right.
Oh, well,
inciting mob violence here,
almost.
right?
Yeah, I see you personally killed the 4 people in Benghazi.
And everybody else who got killed that day.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that's it. Anyway, that's that. I just wanted to bring you up to date on that.
Okay.
So let me go on as long as we're talking about updates.
Okay, sure.
I'm just going to cruise on into this.
Go.
As you know, we always want to make sure to keep you. Not a day goes by that there isn't some news on the automatic cars. The self-driving cars. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So today's news is, and there should be a picture of it there someplace, of a fleet of cars. There's a fleet of Uber cars.
Yep.
Now, it's fascinating that Uber, of course, is on the forefront of this stuff, and I think it's Philadelphia that has decided to bite the bullet on this thing. They said they're not too worried about the cars out on the highway, but which is
we get people killing people anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway, they Uber provided test ride along yesterday. During a ride of about an hour, the Uber cars were observed safely and for the most part smoothly stop at red lights, accelerate at green lights, travel over a bridge, and so forth and so on. But the point is that they have now, when you look at this picture, apparently they are ramping these things out. I mean, they are making, I won't call it exactly mass production, but there's more than one.
It will be soon.
Yeah, it will be soon. And again, this is the other thing that I have to bring this up every time because I'm always ahead of the curve. The Uber driver in the front seat took control according to company protocol to allow pedestrians to cross the street, maneuver through a construction zone, and make a left turn across traffic at an intersection, which of course is things that obviously are going to have to be done. To be honest with you, I'm pretty sure that they've already done it, but they want to make sure that...
Well, for the big test,
Right, yes, all they need to do. Along the ride along, some stared at the autonomous car with mouth gaping awe. Another one gave them the middle finger. And so it says... he says others, a resident there, Robert Armitage, 55, and a lifelong resident of Pittsburgh, are excited for his city, but skeptical of Uber's ambitions, and I have no idea why that is. I'm absolutely skeptical as to whether they can pull it off in the winter, Now, of course, in the winter, there's slush and there's all the other kind of stuff.
Right.
All the other.
And it changes all the visuals.
Changes all the visuals. I mean, you're sitting there in a whiteout. What do you do?
Right. Yeah.
Well, at least one thing that's interesting. In a whiteout, you got all the radar and everything else. Heat sinking missiles and everything there.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be better than. I know what I do in the whiteout. You just sort of head for those lights in front of you, the tail lights.
Assuming that he doesn't head off.
That's right. Then you're good. You're good. You figure you wait and see if there's a big explosion up ahead.
Yeah.
Then.
So anyway, but I think it's interesting. The launch of Uber's self-driving pilot program marks the public unveiling of the company's secretive work in autonomous vehicles. Now, again, we've talked about this, but it's not so secret anymore. They're just getting started. They said the aggressive San Francisco-based Uber, of course, has already shaken up the world's taxi services. And, of course, it has a valuation now of $68 billion.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa!
Yeah, it has a valuation of $68 billion.
Woo!
Now, of course, I haven't looked to see what the PE is or anything like that. I mean, if it's 1,001 PE, it's kind of phony.
Yeah.
But anyway, it plans ultimately to replace many of its 1.5 million drivers with autonomous vehicles.
Right.
And, of course, it'll be like that Jimmy John or whatever it is in Total Recall.
Right, yeah, Johnny Cab.
Johnny Cab.
Yeah, and I read an article about this on the same topic, and it said, well, Uber's going to have a problem once they have their own fleet, because they're going to have to do all the maintenance.
Right.
And they said, when you go to a rental car place these days, they're very strict about checking in those cars, and if there's a scratch on them, giving you a charge.
Right.
Spilled coffee, charge, anything at all, there's a charge.
Right.
And that helps them keep their maintenance costs down.
Right.
Well, my thought is, it's not going to make any difference because the Uber drivers now are going to get their autonomous car. And so you can still use people. You don't have to have your own fleet still.
Right.
You can just use other people's self-driving cars.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see what kind of liability. Yeah, but they would be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the vehicle. It would be just sitting there parked in their garage or whatever. Or what they would do is they would command it to go out, and sit someplace where it's a high request area.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just sit there, and it would all be. And of course, you could monitor it in real time.
Sure.
It's going to be just fabo. So anyway, to continue on, I love this. But it says, but the company is competing in a crowded field. Once again, we love this. We love this part. We see here, for instance, that from Alphabet, which is the Google people,
right,
and Baidu, which is a big, huge thing over there, Tesla Motors, General Motors, and of course these cars are all by Ford, I think, the ones that Uber's using, to build autonomous vehicles and develop new business plans for what is expected to be a long-term makeover of personal transportation. No question about that.
I don't know about long-term.
Well, that's what I'm just saying here. It says still more, this guy named Moore, whoever he is, I don't know, School of Computer Science, Carnegie Mellon or something, he said at least another decade of research and development is needed before there be a significant number of truly autonomous cars. Industry executives remain sharply divided on the timeline, with some expecting fully autonomous cars within 5 years, and others predicting decades away. So these are now, what's interesting is
industry leader, top men.
You look at this and you wonder what's a little bit about the motivation. I mean, certainly if you were in the competition and you had your secret underground development software people, everything like that, doing this stuff, you say, well, I don't know. It's going to take decades for this to.
Yeah, right.
Like you're thinking it's going to come out next year.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you wonder why the self. But you and I have agreed on this, and I can't reiterate this enough. I think this is coming down way faster than anybody expects.
Yeah.
And I think that, as I say, only the government can stop this stuff, and that's one of the other problems. And it says here. This guy named Moore says, I don't think that Uber by any means has it in the bag. And that could very well be true.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because you look at something like MySpace or
there's a billion
Netscape or
of them,
those, and all those things that were the, they say the pioneers,
the leaders.
Arrow and
Ask Jeeves, Yeah.
Yeah.
So, remember, Ask Jeeves was a great search engine for
exactly.
about 5 years before Google even came out.
Right. Oh, yeah. It was, there were several of them. Right, exactly right. And probably about ancient. That might be a checkpoint question. I'm going to put up. Yeah. I'm going to put up on one of these things # checkpoint questions. And so when when Armageddon shows up and you have these people guarding the places around the checkpoints, and you drive up and they say, well, what was Ask Jeeves? You don't know? So that was an original search engine. Tell you if you're an American or not.
That's right.
So anyway, the one thing about Pittsburgh, of course, is the city is full of steep and narrow streets, potholes, and that's another thing. What about road maintenance? That's supposedly still a government operation.
Well, they can still get it from the gas tax.
What gas tax? If they're all electric, of course, they'd get another kind of tax.
Well, I think it's going to be longer before they're all electric. Before
no, that's true too. They could have, they're certainly going to be hybrids. I'll bet you anything, at least.
I don't know, but the self-driving thing is going to beat out the electric thing from my perspective, because the electric thing doesn't add any value. I mean, the whole point is it's still draining off value. We still have big subsidies to Tesla and such, but the self-driving thing really adds value. And like you pointed out, once the insurance companies get a hold of those numbers, man, it's going to be a whole different world.
It'll be, and the other thing we'll have to do about the liability, if you got the self-drivers,
it's all come down to the manufacturers. The German car people I just saw just sort of made a proclamation about that, and law number 3 was it's the manufacturer's fault, and then that would make sense. I mean, it's not, you just own the vehicle, you didn't design it, you didn't design the protocol.
I mean, it's kind of like the ignition thing in the Chevy or whatever, where it blew up or whatever they do, and so they had to have a recall.
Right.
Of course, then there's going to spread it out. They're going to say, well, it wasn't the car, it was the software. I mean, who knows what? But that'll
be easy to prove stuff, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be. Anyway, it has snow and ice in the winter, blossoming trees, and I like this part. This is the last paragraph on here. It has snow and ice in the winter, blossoming trees that can hide street signs and traffic signals. What street signs and what traffic signals?
Well, there are hidden ones behind trees and stuff, but the whole point is a human can't see those either. I mean, I was just out.
What I'm saying is, why would you need them?
Oh, right.
Why would you need a stop sign? Why would you need a lights at the intersection so you can go and you can? They've already figured already figured that out.
Yeah, they see the other car coming and they just. Go right.
Exactly. I'm just saying. this is what I'm saying is these people are stuck in the past.
Yeah.
When they in the summer and slippery ground cover and fallen leaves in the autumn. Well, yeah, I understand that.
But the cars can deal with it just as well as the humans. That's the whole point. There's not that many parameters.
Again, they have other sensors.
Right.
That's Captain Long Range Sensors. Let's see what we got out there.
Wheels are spinning, cars not moving. Duh.
Yeah.
It makes an adjustment.
Yeah, it does. So anyway, I think that again, this is but I love that last paragraph when it said it won't be able to see the stop sign. It probably won't have to.
That's good.
Thank God I had to laugh at that. Okay, well I'm done with the update on that.
Okay.
Oh, Rugalita, I'm got my mojo working.
Whoops.
Are we going to come back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Jimmy Doane Show here on the 13th of September. Counselor Curtis, Jimmy Doane, and here, and we are talking about some things of the news pieces of the day that happen to strike my fancy, or our fancies, as it might be. This next one is kind of interesting. Again, it has to do with the political correctness, and this has to do. What was interesting, I think we have a picture of the flag.
Yep.
Or the game. There should be a backdrop here of the kids at the game holding up the Trump and the Betsy Ross flag.
Yeah, I get that too.
Okay. So anyway, this was the complaint. If you see there,
somebody complained.
Are you kidding? They went off the rails. Off the rails.
Who?
School district, Betsy Ross flag, school district, :
Right.
Betsy Ross flag symbolizes hate.
What?
No, this is, wait a minute, it gets better. This is what was great. So the kids got out there, and of course, they might have wanted to carry around the little Trump sign. This was a football game, some nondescript school, someplace or another. And they decided to carry around the old Betsy Ross 13-star circle flag, and they also had a Make America Great thing. And of course, this was a political statement.
Okay.
that the school was upset about. I guess somebody was. A Michigan school district called the historic Betsy Ross flag a symbol of hate and profusely apologized after students displayed the flag at a recent high school football game. Quote, to wave a historical version of our flag that to some symbolizes exclusion and hate injects hostility and confusion to an event where no one is intended to do so, writes the superintendent of the schools.
Hostility and confusion.
The controversy surrounding the 13-star flag erupted on September 9th during a football game between a predominantly white school and a predominantly black school. And the students not only waved the Betsy Ross flag, but also displayed a Donald Trump banner.
Well, that's what made him mad.
That's what made him mad. But I mean, at least one parent was shocked, mind you, to hear the students chanting USA and wearing red, white, and blue.
What?
And here's a quote. You'll love this. This is where the political correctness has come from.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are just they are, kind of in a puddle of I don't know what all. I'm just so offended and I can't even move. I'm so offended. You can't deny, quote, you cannot deny the overt intention.
I deny it.
Yeah, I deny it. Intentional racism and intimidation, said Brianna Arena Ravello, co-founder of the Grand Rapids Black Lives Matter group. So these are the people that are the ultimate racists. I mean, these are the people that see racism no matter what. Betsy Ross flag. I mean, this is.
This is because back in those days we had slavery. Is that
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that you can't. Any flag that's before 1865 is no good. Because we had
Right.
several flags. But,
Oh yeah.
Because we had more states than the 13. Anyway, this Mrs. Irena Ravello, who represents a group that specializes in overt intentional racism and intimidation, told the station that the students intended to be racist. I mean, this is hate group. So these white kids from a white school bring a flag out of the colonies with the Make America Great Again Trump flag, and it's all very obvious. Well,
It's all very obvious.
It's obvious to her, and so one of the parents wrote a scathing Facebook diatribe accusing students of brandishing these symbols of nationalism. Ooh, don't want to have any nationalism, and white supremacy. This is the new white supremacy.
Right.
I suppose. I mean, I don't know if they'd had a Hillary flag out there, if they'd called that, because she's kind of white.
You can't. There's no way to know at this point.
No, that's right. Anyway, the superintendent. This is what I like about this. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but the superintendent fired off. It says here, fired off a wordy 2-page letter lecturing folks in the district about their privilege and apologizing to the inner city school. In other words, he was the principal of the white quote school, and he fired off a letter to the black school saying, "We apologize for offending you," basically.
For waving our privilege around.
That's right. Parading the current United States flag injecting partisan politics in a community football game and into commemoration of the events of September 11th is inappropriate, he wrote. Parading our current United States flag in a manner that is inconsistent with proper etiquette is disrespectful to all who have served our nation. And I'm sitting there thinking, what are you talking about? Well, of course, they look at the facts here, and it turns out that...
Let me just say again, when we were kids, when I was a kid, we had a little rhyme, and it was sticks and stones, and you know the rest. And basically, it says, get over it. We got more important things to worry about than these little distinctions.
Well,
I mean, if these people are going to get all caught up in this stuff, they're never going to see the real atrocities that are going on in the world.
Right.
And it's like they're wasting time, they're wasting their lives, they're wasting our time, they're wasting print space, trees, everything on this crap, really, because there are real, legitimate things that are going on in this world that need their attention, aside from microaggressions. There are real aggressions. There are actual aggressions. Right. You don't need to look for them. You don't need to root them out.
That's what is so amazing, is that they basically, when you realize that these people make their lives, basically as they're black people or whatever the particular affront is, and they find it everywhere. You can find it everywhere. And of course,
sure.
it reminds me a little bit. This was brought out 50 years ago in one of the original Star Treks. And they,
The
guy they were
half black, half white, and the other guy was half white on the other side.
And it ended where they destroyed each other.
Right.
I mean, what was so funny about it was, can't you see?
Right.
Can't you see the difference here?
Right.
And
he's black on the left side.
I mean, this is interesting when you realize the ground. Just for a second here, a little tiny digression. That Star Trek, the original Star Trek. What do they call that? The original Star. Oh, TOS. Anyway, they also had the first kiss.
Right.
Interracial kiss, So anyway, they did so. Anyway, to continue on, there was another article about this flag, and that's why I'm bringing it up here. Flag controversy overshadows the football game. Forest Hills Public Superintendent sent out a letter. I just said that, and he apologized to the entire Ottawa Hills community and the Grand Rapids Public Schools. Apologize to everybody.
Sure.
Make sure that.
Suck it up.
And what I love is this type of behavior should not and will not be tolerated in our stadiums or schools. Well, what are you going to do about it? I mean, what exactly, if somebody holds out a Betsy Ross flag, I mean, are you going to send in the school guards or arrest people or card them off? I mean, when it won't be tolerated,
Well,
what are you going to do?
they're going to do. I just read an article today that some school, it was Columbia or someplace, had a professional microaggression analyst. Yeah. And they were providing orientation to the new students about what you can and can't do. And one student raised her hand, a little white girl, and said, "Hey, if there's a song on the radio that uses the N-word and I'm singing along, is that okay?" And they came out and unequivocally said, "No, you can't sing along. It's a microaggression." And then they went to point out other stuff like, if you use the word "you guys" and you're talking to girls, or a girl is in the group, you offend them, you exclude them. And if somebody walks into a science classroom and there's only pictures of white old men scientists on the walls, then you have the right to be offended and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, again,
you always have the right to be offended, but I was like, who cares?
Well, right, exactly. Go to your room and cry if you're going to be offended.
Go to your little safe space.
That's right. I only talk about this because it's actually gaining traction in some of our universities.
Right.
The place where you would expect it to be the freest in terms of thoughts and ideas and exchange of ideas and things is becoming a Nazi hunt for what you could possibly be offended about instead of actual issues.
Right.
I mean, where's the discussion about math? I mean, what the hell? This is so far off the rails. Yeah, apparently. It's so far off the rails, it's offensive to me.
It gets better. So anyway, it won't be tolerated. But he writes the letter here, and in the letter he says he extended. Let's see, for his leadership, open letter to the committee, and the apology he extended. Everybody was happy about that. I cannot deny the hurt, disrespect, and outrage.
I deny the hurt. I'm denying the hurt right now. You guys, all the people who saw that flag, you were not hurt. Okay, that's not what pain feels like.
Yeah,
okay?
Right. Exactly. If that's physical pain, you got problems.
You got big problems.
And I and so many of those in the community felt about these actions that took place in our backyard. Let's see, should not and will not be tolerated, blah, blah, blah. Teachable moment to work together to ensure that...
This is a teachable moment. All you administrators, superintendent need to be fired and replaced with people that don't have transparent micro skin, basically.
Exactly, yeah. Gossamer thin.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the work together with some organizations here to ensure that our student athletes, coaches, athletic directors, parents, and our supporters are better informed, culturally sensitive, and more prepared to create an atmosphere where everyone, regardless of age, income, race, ethnicity, religion, native language, gender identity, and sexual orientation are welcomed, respected, and of course, and can enjoy this athletic event.
I'm sorry, that's just offensive to me. That's totally
Well,
offensive. I'm offended by their offense.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is people don't realize respect is one of those things that's earned. You can't force somebody to do respect. You can scare the shit out of them.
Right.
You know, respect the badge. You know,
Right,
well, yeah, I respect the fact that you got a gun on you. You
Right.
can't kill me. I'm scared to death. You know, I fear for my life. That's not respect. Respect is something like love or something like that. It's earned. Mm-hmm. So when they say they're talking about respecting this or respecting that, you know, you don't have to do it. I don't respect anything. You know, I don't respect that stuff or whatever it is. A lot of cops I don't respect because they've harmed me in one way or the other or something like, or whatever it might be. You know, it's to say respect is earned. And it can be, you know, if you do
Lost.
something stupid, it can be lost in a heartbeat. It's like trust. Mm-hmm. You know, you can trust somebody like Bernie Madoff. You trusted him for 30 years, and all of a sudden, kaboom! Trust goes away. Disappeared in a heartbeat. Now, anyway, let me just finish this off here real quick. I think there was a couple of things. It's a privilege to attend a football game on Friday night. Privilege to live in a country where our rights and freedoms. Now, know this: our rights and freedoms have been secured. Certainly, not all freedoms, obviously.
No.
Been secured by the sacrifices of blood. Identity.
And let's be clear, this actually is one of the rights that has been secured by the First Amendment.
Exactly.
They are allowed to wave around a flag by order of the Constitution.
Right.
So if you learn
what was all that blood and sweat and tears that was, you know, the Second World War or whatever it is for all those people died, and then now all of a sudden you can't wave an old American flag.
That's it.
I mean, that's not what again, they got it backwards.
They got it backwards.
They got it backwards. It's a privilege. Let's see. It's a privilege not have to think about certain things and to not have to know about certain things.
That's right.
That's a privilege.
That's right. That's right. It's
to be ignorant.
Right. Well, it's their privilege to not have to worry about that flag is what it comes down to. They want a privilege. They want to be privileged to not have to see things that offend them. That's right.
I will shield my eyes.
But no, you don't have to shield your eyes.
No, that's right. That's right.
You want somebody to go over there with a gun and tell them they can't wave that flag around because you want the privilege of not having to be offended.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me a little bit of one of the cartoons I've got here when it's like when Mrs. Jimmy walks in here and she says, you know, how do you stand looking around at this place? I said, I just close my eyes.
Look around.
Yeah, look around.
Don't do that.
No, I just close my eyes. That's the way I deal with it. So this is one of the things that these people can do. Anyway, they go on and it says the one's intent, regardless of this, one of the lessons we learn as youth is that our actions cause harm to others. Well, if you
That's right, actions, not words.
That's right. The impact is the same regardless of one's intent. Well,
no, it's
not.
It's in fact dependent on intent.
Exactly. It is dependent on the intent. So, I mean, this is what's so funny about this. You think in this day, after the stuff that's been coming down the pipe for just the last couple of months, what are these people thinking? I mean,
well, they're going right along with what's been coming down the pipe. I mean, they really, like, these people are obviously embracing the tip of this sword or spear or whatever and saying, ooh, I said spear, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead and infer something negative out of that.
Yeah, well, Africans had spears.
I know.
Obviously, you're talking about...
obviously being racist.
Racist, that's right. So anyway, the actions of some and inaction of others brought disrespect and confusion to many.
Confusion.
Yeah, I mean, actions of some and inactions of others, okay?
Yeah, well, when your inaction can offend somebody...
Yeah,
we've gone off the rails. That's
and it is interesting because one of the things you do see, sometimes you'll see this, and that is you'll see a cell phone of a subway fight, for instance, and there's 30 people in the car, that are not doing anything. But, while these 2 or 3 people fight it out. Well, at what point, do you dive in there? I mean, that's inaction. And to me, I guess maybe that's what they're talking about is everybody should participate or something.
Well, that's right. There should be a big brawl in the center of the field to determine if they can
if they can wave the flag or not.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And to wave a historical version of our flag that to some symbolizes exclusion and hate injects hostility and confusion again to an event where no one intended to do so. Again, intent.
Right.
People in the eyes of the beholder, whatever it is, it's just it's just hysterical to go. I'm not going to read the whole thing here because to our students and community, and these actions represent a lack of knowledge. As a learning organization in the days and weeks and months to come, we have a unique and precious opportunity to use our district's guiding principles. Now, so far, what I've seen of their guiding principles, they suck.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really bad. We can spend time building relationship and interweaving the threads of a stronger and more vibrant fabric that unifies our broader community. However, you can use those threads, but what you don't want to do is to build a flag.
That's right.
No flag with the interweaving. No flag. Sorry. So anyway, they can lead us. Let's see. Too much of this rhetoric in our society today, witnessed by young people, fails to meet the standards of civic and civil discourse. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, one of the things that's interesting is that civil discourse. I mean, civil. What do you call it? Civil disability.
Disobedience.
Disobedience is a cornerstone. I mean, you get to do that.
Right.
It's not supposed to be a shooting offense. You let yourself know. And uncivil discourses, that's called freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Our youth can model a different way. If we create the right conditions. Okay, now here we come. If we create the right conditions, now what do you suppose those are going to be? Anything like I'm not going to wave the Nazi flag here, but the right conditions are Orwellian, and they can lead us from pain to progress, and we can have a dialogue about fear, justice, racism, rights, freedoms, responsibilities, personal convictions, and how even in our polarized political climate, we can work to form a more perfect union. Blah, 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 blah. They just don't even come close to getting them. It's sad to see the total and complete.
It's amazing. There was another article I saw today. Some model is in hot water because she's half Thai, and she said it was okay if somebody referred to her as Oriental.
Mm-hmm. And
that's it. That's the whole fight. Oriental is supposed to refer to objects, and when you describe a person from Asia, you're supposed to say they're Asian, not
right.
Oriental.
Okay, I didn't. That's a good point. I would not have thought about
It's a micro distinction. It's a very subtle distinction that even people with vast knowledge of English might not know.
Yeah.
And yet there are apparently scores of students who are being taught that it's okay to be offended by these subtle distinctions.
Right.
And
I mean, of course, when you call somebody
it's not
an Oriental what? Vase?
Well, exactly.
Chair?
I mean, that's what they're implying. They're trying to infer that they're just an object if you say Oriental as opposed to Asian, which implies a person.
Okay.
And it's just like, look, man, get over it. Get over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, it's going the other way.
No, I know. That's why we're here.
That's why
we're here to tell you, get over it.
Right.
Okay. If somebody's offending you with their words or flag waving, guess what you get to do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. You get to suck it up and move on in life because there are actual things that you could get offended about.
Sticks and stones.
Exactly. This is an old nursery rhyme. A nursery rhyme.
And even it's funny. Of course, as kids growing up, you even had. I won't call it friendly, but you had battery, for instance, as kids.
Mm-hmm.
That today you go to jail for. I mean, you punch somebody. I don't mean you punch them,
right?
But I mean, first of all, the words. Nobody. I realize you could shame kids with fat and all that kind of stuff, and that's too bad. But even to the extent above that, when we were kids, you could do some real quote aggression, and nobody really.
Well, we used to have a common law prohibition against arresting kids that were under 7. Okay, the rule was if you were 6 and under, you could not get into criminal trouble because guess what? You haven't learned the distinction between right and wrong yet. And everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. They just, know that. Mm-hmm. And you're also not going to cause much harm at 6 years old, okay? But now that's changed. And I've seen them walk little 5-year-old girls up to the judge in tears because they don't even know why they're there. And they get scolded by the judge. And you're just like,
and of course he's up on a podium.
Yeah, there's cops everywhere with guns and stuff. And I mean, it's
Well, I call this child abuse because I mean,
It is!
The simple fact is, it is child abuse.
It is. It's traumatizing.
Yeah, it's totally traumatizing. And the people that do that sort of thing, that was what we talked about a couple of shows ago, where they shamed that one kid 6 or 7 years old for being tardy, and put him in a box. He put him in a cardboard box. Didn't I tell you about that? Oh no, this was what happened was the kid, his family, normal family, father, son, father, wife, and about 3 kids, and the mother every once in a while didn't make it to school on time, driving her.
Oh, right.
And the way they did put him in detention was to put him at a table in the cafeteria and with a box around him.
Right.
A cardboard.
Oh, yeah, in the cafeteria.
In the
That's right.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of education is this? This is mind-numbing. Of all the people that should be not doing something, of all of them, you can understand
schools.
parents,
Right.
or something. But this is so. The final little note on this is, in our mission, we'll partner with our community to provide all learners with the opportunities to acquire knowledge, skills, and to build productive lives. Well, obviously, one of the things that you're going to do is to make sure that certain flags are totally offensive to people.
Well, they're teaching kids to be offended by this stuff.
Right.
I mean,
and now they have recourse.
well, I don't know
They
what
go complain or
they
something.
can go complain, get somebody suspended or something like that.
Well, like the little kid that you bite the cookie in the shape of a gun and you're
Right.
suspended for 3 days. You're 6.
Right.
Of course, as far as I'm concerned, every day you're suspended is a good day.
Yeah, right. You
You're
can
not-
learn something.
Yeah, you can actually learn something. That's right. So anyway,
Oh
that's
my God, we're in trouble.
yeah. Okay, I'm done with that.
I got my mojo working, babe.
And we're back.
And we're back. Jimmy Doane Show here on the 13th, 14th of September 2016. Counselor Curtis
That's me.
and Jimmy Doane here. I got one final thing, unless
Okay.
whatever you've got.
Now go ahead.
And I should have brought this up earlier because it's really kind of humorous in a way. We talk about the self-driving. I don't know if this is becoming a self-driving podcast or vidcast or videocast.
Yeah, right.
It seems like we end up talking about this all the time. But Walmart is developing a self-driving shopping cart. Apparently, what happens is you can call it up, and because I know when Grandma was on her, she would get in the little cart when she couldn't walk anymore, and they had a basket in front and everything like that, and she would drive it around to pick up her stuff. I guess what they're talking about is if you have the self-driving cart, maybe you shove around and pick up all your stuff, and then when the guys have finished bagging it, you basically put the thing on autopilot, and because you have an app, I have an app, for instance, that says "Where's my car?" And so you punch that into the cart, it runs out there to your car, you unload it, and then it goes back to the store. So it retrenches itself back in the spot there.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering what's the difference. I mean, they protecting it from when grandma's running into displays or something.
I guess. I mean, I don't know what that is.
But I can see the parking lot thing.
Yeah, well, that's actually the big deal, is
Right.
And of course that eliminates one of those menial, lower wage jobs. That
Go and pick up all the carts.
Go pick up all the carts. I mean,
Right.
And seriously, with all due respect, without offending anybody, the people that do the cart picking up are people that really need that kind of a job. They're not going to get much. They're not going to be CEO any day.
No, that's a conscientiousness job. It tests your ability to do anything.
Right. And so, anyway, the point is, though, that bye-bye on that job. But again, that's private. If they do it privately, I don't have a problem with that, as long as it's not mandated by the government.
Right.
So that was to say the best part. It would also be able to return itself from customers' cars to the store.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I've got today.
Okay. Well, I may have one more thing here.
Okay.
All right.
We're back?
Yeah, we're
Jimmy
back.
Doane Show. You see, I sat on my glasses.
I was wondering why they're a little crooked or
They're
something.
totally. I sat on them one time, and these are my prescription. They actually, I mean, I can see through them okay, but
Yeah.
they're
triggering people's OCD.
I guess, yeah. I just wanted to give you that
That's a microaggression right
update.
there.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm going to say one thing that's a little bit off the rails, okay?
Good.
Yeah, this is...
We do that.
Yeah, well, this is the furthest I've ever gone off the rails.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I was thinking about it, and since both the Democrats and the Republicans are against Trump at this point, that is, the people in charge, the establishment.
Right. The establishment, right.
If I were him, I would be I would be thinking about some extra protection at this point. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, and like I said, this is off the rails. It's crazy. It's crazy.
He has Secret Service protection.
I know, and he wears a bulletproof vest now.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Okay.
At his speaking events.
Okay.
Okay, but my thought is, I mean, the press is completely against him at this point. The press. And the press is what saves you, if anything, from the authorities. I mean, if the authorities are against you and you don't have the counter authorities on your side, meaning the other party. Well, yeah, that's the last thing. Well, the counter authority would be the Republican Party.
I see.
You know, but he doesn't have those guys.
No.
The leaders they're ready to throw him under the bus.
Absolutely.
So what I'm getting at is the leadership in both parties, the establishment in both parties, is really beginning to feel threatened. They're really starting to feel the heat, the actual possibility that he could be elected. Mm-hmm. And as we've spoken before, there's $3.5 trillion at stake in this election.
It's over $4 trillion now, but
okay.
Yeah, that funnels through Washington.
That's right. And so here's this rogue guy from their perspective, and like I said, this is as far off as I can possibly go on the rails.
Okay.
But I would start to be a little bit worried if I were him. I would.
Well, of course. I mean, the A2 brute. I mean, the fact
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. This is happens all the time.
Well, it used to,
and not so much here.
Right.
Although McKinley,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had 3 or 4 assassinations of presidents.
More than that. Yeah.
Of presidents, I meant.
Yeah. And I don't think there has been an election with a candidate who has been on the outside of both parties like this in since for a long time.
For a long time.
We're
the third party people, maybe.
Yeah, but they haven't had a chance, so you didn't have to worry about them. You didn't have to worry about Gary Johnson or Ross Perot or even Teddy Roosevelt with the Bull Moose Party.
Right.
You didn't have to worry about them at all.
Yeah.
But now they have to worry. There's an actual chance that he could be legitimately elected, and I
actually even more legitimately than one of the 99% people that have a democratic election in
Saddam
Congo,
Hussein,
and they
Mugabe,
or how do you say no? But I mean, this one's going to be close.
Right.
There are going to be a fair chunk of people that are going to vote against him no matter what, and for him.
And what I'm getting at is the press is ready to cover up at this point for any shenanigans. I see nothing in our mainstream media that shows me that they would protect anybody except for the establishment.
Well, it's interesting because when we had the Stumbleathon here the other day with Hillary, they jumped all over that, and
no, not from my perspective. They all every news story that I've seen coming out of what I call the mainstream media, the historical media, the New York Times, the Washington Post,
LA.
the ABC, NBC, CBS. All of those people came right after that and said, well, she's obviously got pneumonia.
Yeah.
And
they're buying the pneumonia. Totally.
Well, hook, line, and sinker. I mean, but that's what I'm getting at is that they're so in the tank that now you've got to rely on the Breitbarts and the Drudge Report and whoever else, these outside news sources. And I'd even be worried if I were Drudge at this point.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
And Breitbart, he's dead.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Never was. I don't believe in.
As Lionel Nation says, he's one of my favorite video casters. He says he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy analyst. That's what he calls it. What's going on here, kind of thing.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, I would not be surprised to see some wild shenanigans in the next 6 weeks or so.
What'll be interesting, of course, is this is a day-by-day thing.
Right.
That you wonder, literally
And
every
their
day
nervousness.
you can have another trip, a little cough, a little something else, and you're kind of wondering, talk about being on tenterhooks.
Yeah.
Literally daily you wake up and you wonder what's going to happen today.
Well,
And it's a little confusion, a little chaos. So if we just can hold our breath until November 8th and find out. But if they're, it's going to be interesting. The other little swan event, black, white, gray, whatever it is of course Assange. He's talking about releasing, He's talking about releasing the bomb.
right, the WikiLeaks guy.
The nuclear, attack.
Information
Going to
attack.
going to attack and take Hillary out with one release of emails or something. So
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right, well, thanks for joining us.
thank you for joining us. It's been great, Councilor Curtis. We will see. Thanks for your insight. We try and get here usually on live streaming here on YouTube about 4 o'clock every afternoon. And what we'd like you to do is to go over there and give us a like or a share, something like that. And we need to go viral because we had 2 or 3 views yesterday, and we want to make sure we'd like to get up to a few more than that.
Hey, and here's a good book, Black and Blue Lives, on Amazon, which will help you out with any encounters with police.
Well, like with when the video guy was his encounter with the police, maybe that would have helped. I don't know.
I don't know either.
They were all in his ass.
Don't open the door is what that comes down to. So. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.